How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the Range Cast. This is your number one destination for all things cannabis. This is where we light up conversations, where we blaze through boundaries, and we harvest insights from pioneers and industry leaders in the green revolution. I'm your host, Mark Wallace, and together with me, as always, is DJ God Desmond Johnson, our MC, and a very special guest. Speaking of industry leaders and pioneers, we have Zeke, who is the CEO founder of Sacred Garden Dispensary Group out of New Mexico. We're very excited to have him here as a special guest to speak all things cannabis in New Mexico and his dispensary experience. So as an innovator, as an entrepreneur, and an advocate for cannabis, we're happy to have you, and you're redefining the world of weed as we know it. So let's get into the conversation.
All right. Well, thank you for having me.
Love it.
Absolutely. So we're definitely super excited to have you on. I always like to start with just, I mean, I read some of it, but just some of your background and how you got into the cannabis industry as a whole. And I know you have some background in it's like product and marketing and going through looks like some huge companies as well. So just want to hear your background and then get into how you started Sacred Garden.
All right. Well, first of all, I never thought I'd be in the cannabis business industry. I grew up in Austin, Texas, and even though Austin's a little friendlier with cannabis than the rest of Texas, it was not friendly. So
yeah.
My brother, I was working for Whole Foods Market as a private label buyer in the national office doing product development for them and working on new 365 organic, full catch, whole kitchen products and getting to go through a lot of manufacturing facilities, which was neat all over the world. So I gained a bit of an understanding of product quality and QA, QC procedures and SOPs and reverse logistics and all that stuff. So I feel like it gave me a good background for it. However, I was too scared to ever jump out of a good corporate job at that point. And it wasn't until I laid myself off from Whole Foods that I said, all right, I'm going to give this a shot in New Mexico. I saw I think it was February of 2009, they had opened up the program for medical cannabis in New Mexico. I'd always loved New Mexico. My family had always traveled back and forth while we were living in Texas. So I said, give it a shot. At that time, I did not tell my significant other that I wasn't job, that I was actually spending a lot of time putting in an application for the program. And there were definitely it didn't require nearly as much in 2009 as it does now.
Yes, today.
For example, my application was probably 60 pages long, and it was $100 application fee back then.
Oh,
and
wow.
Now I think it's a $10,000 fee, and the average application is over 600 pages. So I'm
that's
glad
wild.
I got in. Yeah, I'm glad I got in when I did. And our plant count was only 95 plants total, including
Wow.
bloom. So big changes. Now I think we're running about 5,000 plants, and that's just bloom. So it's a wild world out here now.
Yeah, that's incredible. I know that I was reading a study, kind of just statistically, that in the past, I think it's like the past year, there's like over 2,000 cannabis licenses that have been awarded in New Mexico. I know it's continuously growing and adding. I know in like 630 or so of those are dispensary licenses. So how are you, obviously coming from being one of the first players in the space, and one of the most well-known? I mean, everyone knows Sacred Garden in New Mexico. I actually was just there with my wife about a month and a half ago on vacation, and it's such a staple of the New Mexico cannabis market, is Sacred Garden, especially with your own in-house product brand and just the vast variety of products that you have. How is it changing the state of the market, given how saturated it's becoming?
Yeah.
Well, so we are considered one of the legacy producers, and I think all that means is we were one of the producers before recreational came about a little bit a year ago. So the legacy producers still hold almost 50% of the market, the original 30%.
Nice.
Wow.
You know, we do have a leg up. I'm constantly battling with the Cannabis Control Division or whoever in New Mexico is in charge at the time. So many, it was the Department of Health, and I've seen so many people come and go there that it just will make your head spin. And unfortunately, with the recreational model they chose, it was a losing model, meaning it's going to produce a bunch of heartache and heartbreaks and bankruptcy for a lot of people. So, but I think, you know, even for us, we're seeing a lot less business than prior to medical cannabis, just being medical. So that means we've got to pivot. You know, if we don't want to lay a bunch of people off, we have to figure out a new business model. And, you know, watching other states that have more sophisticated markets, since like California, like Washington, like Colorado, the name of the game is fresh, frozen, and rosin production now.
Okay.
And I'll describe that a little more for anybody that doesn't really know. And I think it's important because I even asked one of my dispensary managers the other day. I said, "All right, tell me the difference between live resin and rosin," and he got the answer wrong. So you know, it's not new, but it's new for New Mexico relatively. And it just, you know, I can't rely on the retail model. We have 7 dispensaries open all the way from El Paso down, you know, by El Paso in Texas, all the way north to Santa Fe. And the pie has been divided too much. So doesn't matter how good I believe our quality is, and I do believe it's very high quality. We do everything. Our business model is seed to sales. So we have our own commercial kitchen and extract lab, tinctures, topicals lab. We do 30,000 pre-rolls a month right now.
Wow.
Only flower for pre-roll. I don't like harsh smoke. I'm a big smoker myself. I'm a big believer in cannabis as medicine, even in a recreational market. So, you know, if people are spraying crap on plants, I'm not into it. We don't use any pesticides. Everything we put in plants, we can flush out, and we make sure we do 10 to 2 week flush at the end, because it's more important for us to give people clean product and get the most weight possible. You know, we could get a little more weight if we kept feeding through the end of the process, but no one wants to smoke chlorophyll. No one wants to smoke phosphorus, potassium, nitrogen. So
no.
And one thing that a lot of even growers know that I consider good growers is chelating agents like EDTA, which are important for getting iron into plants, which is one of the micronutrients. You can't flush it out. It's stuck in the plants forever. So most growers even say, you know, think they're organic, they're talking about using EDTA, and I know they haven't done their research. So, you know, for us, it's important. You have to start with good flower to have good products all the way down the line. If you start with crap, you end up with crap.
I love that. And I think
That's so
too,
true.
I think you hit something really impactful that I'd love for you to expand on a little bit, which is that you can't rely as the market shifts and becomes saturated on simply retail alone, right? I mean, you have such a great, you know, manufacturing and, like you said, seed to sale operation with the quality of product. And that's so huge. And we've touched on a few of our episodes here, kind of the different ways that different markets, and every market, as you know, Zeke, is so different. There's similarities, but it's interesting because to me, in a lot of markets, I've always felt very passionately, because, you know, I'm a consumer myself. I'm very passionate about the industry from just a health perspective, is way it's helped me, help my mom with her severe health issues. And I believe in the industry so heavily, and I never want to see the industry get to a point where it's uneducated, right? And I think that's one of the things I love about Zeke Garden is you guys push the education of your product and the process so much, and that helps the consumer be more educated in their decision. And I never love when I see markets start to shift into the model of, let's just give the cheapest weed, the cheapest quality for the cheapest price and try to undercut each other. And we're seeing that in Michigan right now. It's the quote race to the bottom mentality. And I'm a firm believer myself that the quality of not only the product, but also of the experience in the doors, that cannabis should be an immersive experience, something that makes you feel welcome, to kind of like throw back to the 70s show Cheers, right? Like make you feel like you're welcome, you're home, you have someone you can talk to and engage with and educate you, that you want to come back. It should never be a pot dealer with a doorknob. It should never be the Walmart of weed. So what are you doing? What do you think is as the New Mexico market continues to shift and change? What are some things that you think are creative ways, without giving away the secret sauce of State Garden, that you can really shift and stay ahead of the curve and bring that value to the industry, keep the industry alive and well without falling down that rabbit hole, and be creative, since you can't just rely on simply having more and more retail locations?
Well, so what we're doing right now is we're doing a lot of fresh frozen to make live resin. What that means is, I'm sure you're probably familiar with it, because you've been around enough. But like I said, even our dispensary managers are learning some of the new terms, some of the new processes. So for us, fresh frozen, we can, for example, we're taking down greenhouses right now, cutting off all the big fan leaves, cutting everything, sticking it directly in a freeze dryer, and then for 24 hours, and then immediately running it, breaking up all the usable flour, sticking it in big tubes and using research grade butane or CO2 or ethanol to then get the most pure product you can out of it. And then then we put it in vacuum ovens, which allows us to purge any of the hydrocarbons that may remain in it. And that's a lot of people aren't even doing that right. They're just cooking it overnight. They're trying to get product out as quickly as possible, whereas we do a very low temperature, slow 3-day vacuum purge process to make sure we're not trapping any of the hydrocarbons. But the fresh frozen, doing the fresh frozen, what it allows you to do is capture all your terpenes. The freshness of the product allows really good clarity in the finished product for using cartridges or extract material, shatter, batter, etc. So we're big fans of it. Also allows you to not spend as much money on trim crew, because you can leave it with this process. You're only going to get the resin, the trichomes, and you're going to leave a lot of the other plant material behind that you would capture with older product. For example, if you did go and do a further process like a distillate. So fresh frozen's really big for us, and rosin. So basically washing or doing a cold ice hash method, getting the hash or all the good usable trichomes off the product, and then pressing it with heat and pressure, and then getting rosin, which is one of the cleanest, least infiltrated product you can get out of cannabis. It breaks my heart a little bit because I'm a flower guy from,
Same.
I'm just a flower guy, so I hate to see all this great flower being further processed, but that's what the market is bearing. So when, as a medical model, we were 80% of our revenue was flower and pre-rolls. Now in less than a year, it's down to 40%.
Wow.
And what's picking up the slack is the extracts, the cartridges. Every recreational state I've seen go recreational has moved toward that. I know California has some shops that are 95% cartridge sales.
Yep. Yeah.
So we have to pivot. I can't just watch all this great flower get sold for $300 a pound or something. It's just
Yeah,
frustrating.
yeah.
So there's still a good price on people understand the value proposition and the quality of rosin and fresh frozen live resin products.
Yeah. Yeah, it is a weird shift. I'm a flower guy myself, and while I do obviously, it's the convenience of vape pens and cartridges is obviously you can't
Yeah.
beat it. Yeah, I personally, again, it's everyone's opinion, but you know, you can never beat a phenomenal pre-roll. I'll take a gram pre-roll any day of the week, and I'll be happy. But it is, you have to take those shifts with the way the market goes and stay ahead of it. Otherwise, it eats you up. And I think with that, I'd love to hear too. Speaking of industry shifts, I know firsthand, and you kind of alluded to this earlier with like the Department of Health and everything else. It's been no easy journey, the evolution of regulations in the New Mexico market.
That's what I was going to ask too. Yep.
Yeah, right.
For compliance ways. Like I know you guys have a dispensary in Albuquerque as well, and there's like 186 now. I've seen that it's just in Albuquerque alone, which is insane.
Mhm.
Sounds like every corner has a dispensary. And you guys have, like you said, legacy market. How has it been staying compliant with regulations? I know there's a lot of inspections going on too, and just staying on top of all that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's I feel like we're chasing our tail all the time. We'll get a new labeling requirement will come out today, for example, and then I have 6 months worth of packaging I have to throw away. They don't even have any sunset clauses where you can run through the product or the packaging you already have. So from a sustainability and just being smart, intelligent perspective, it makes no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So we do a little better because the legacy producers do a little better because we can absorb some of those costs. A lot of these mom and pop, one-off shops, they can't. So we'll see a third of them go out of business in the next 12 months, is my guess.
Wow.
Yeah. So we had to hire a full-time compliance person. That's not cheap. Finding a good compliance person will save us from getting in trouble for changes we didn't even know were happening in the industry. But like another thing the state just did is all the edibles used to have been managed by someone in the Department of Health, which was the regulating agency at the time. They just gave it to the Environment Department. So now we're dealing with another agency that wants to prove that all the people that are getting paid there's a reason they're not
Getting paid.
And it's not true. Like we have all these products we were making. We cut some of them expecting to have some issues with supply, just being able to produce as much. So we cut some of the products we were making, and now we're just trying to make them again. And the environment department is holding stuff up for at least 3 months just to reintroduce
3 months
another product. So yeah.
And what's the life cycle of those products in the first place? I mean, you hold up a product from being out for 3 months. That cuts your cuts.
Yeah, it's not that. It's just so we're not producing the product. The environment department is requiring us to go through all of these time studies, prove how long your product actually is good before before it expires, things like that. And instead of just using data like national data for how long does a brownie last, So, literally we have some great new products that we're reintroducing. Canna butter, so our medical patients can cook with it and make their own products. And honey, which is great for a lot of people, easy to put in tea, whatever.
Inflammation.
So like we have all these great products that aren't going out to the market for a while, like drinks too. We can't put those out because we have to demonstrate a SOP of how you make a lemonade. I'm like, really? Like, Isn't that, can't you just look it up on Google, Cannabis Control Division, please move on? But anyways, it's always constant challenge. They really don't like me. The state doesn't like me because every time they do something squirrely or they try and implement a regulation that doesn't make any sense to me, I'll go after them and I'll sue them.
Good for you, though.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
I'm
you.
carrying, I have to carry that torch because so many other producers that also benefit by me challenging the state, they're afraid of the state's retribution. So they will not join with me in any of these lawsuits. But I've been, I've been attacked by the state on many occasions and won a Supreme Court case against them.
That's
for
awesome.
charging sales tax for medical patients. It didn't do me any good to go through a 7-year legal process, but I believe the state was in the wrong. If we're calling it medicine, then they shouldn't have to pay sales tax.
Sales tax.
So I won. Patients don't have to pay sales tax anymore. So that was a good victory.
Well, it's a huge victory because we
That
all
is.
know too. There's a lot of socioeconomic hardships in the New Mexico market in particular, right? So to be able to know that you're fighting for the patients, I mean, that brings a lot of clout to your retail stores and your name brand in and of itself. I mean, that's what being a trailblazer is. You fight the hard fights, and sometimes you're not liked for the fights that you fight, but that's part of being a true advocate of the industry. So I applaud you for that, because that really is what it takes to make the change that needs to be had.
Yeah, it's very tiresome, but I do believe it's the right, we all have to draw lines in the sand with our integrity and what we believe in, and no matter the consequences. So that was my thought process with it. Now, I will tell you, I'm getting a little tired, so I'm not sure I have that much fight left in me, but we'll see.
Well, hopefully the industry and the country as a whole starts coming around, right? I know Desmond's really active with the New York market and what's going on here, and Desmond brings a unique perspective as well, being a professional business broker. And a few of our executive board members are come from the brokerage space, and I think that's an interesting look, and I'm curious how that plays into your business model, right? I know that you're personally working together with you. You're in the process of kind of building out and acquiring new locations, as you're seeing, as you just mentioned, a lot of these mom and pops and locations are not going to survive, and they're not. How does that impact your strategy as far as acquisitions and even potentially a future exit if a larger group were to come in and say, hey, if you're tired, Zeke, let's get you on the beach of the Bahamas with a margarita in your hand and a nice big payday.
It's a real it's a conundrum for me. I go back and forth. I know that I've seen what happens when some of the big players come in. They're just trying to squeeze some of the smaller players and gain more market share, and they lose heart. There's no more heart in the business.
Just business. Yep.
Yeah. And that's one thing, I still, when I go to the warehouse, which I just got back from, I see my warehouse manager, give him a hug, ask him how he's doing. We're losing the heart in the entire industry right now. The people that, when I used to go to the BizCon, the Cannabis conference in Vegas, first year, I think it was like 600 people. Now it's 28,000 people, and you're not seeing hippies, you're seeing suits now.
Oh yeah.
These are hedge fund guys, venture capital guys coming in to see how they can rape someone, steal their business, and then make money on it somehow. So, I've been in a couple of agreements with companies in the past for partnering on things, looked through all the negative covenants, which basically said, if I don't perform miracles in the next 2 years, still working with them, then they can basically steal the company. So it's really, there's a lot of sharks out there that don't care anything about, it's a widget to them. They don't care if it's medicine, they don't care if it's cannabis, they don't care. So, after,
That's
but
interesting.
I am, you know, I do have an exit strategy. I'm not going to be able to do this forever.
Mhm.
I do hope that, you know, I'll probably stay on for a year or two just to show them how to work the business, show them the value of the employees we have. So they don't just, you know, do a pump and dump or something and try and lay off a bunch of people and show ghost revenues or, you know, this crazy low cost, but that's not sustainable. So, but yeah, if you know someone, give me a call.
No, for sure. I mean, we run into a lot. I think on both ends, we know some groups that acquire, and obviously we're particularly you know. I mean, God, Zeke, we've worked together for almost 4 years now. We're particular with who we work with, and we don't work with everyone. And I think we do that because we have a lot of the same integrities around the industry as you have, and when we share that, yeah, I think we should not name names, but there's a very large organization with close to 50 or more locations in New Mexico, who I feel embodies exactly the antithesis of what you and I love about cannabis. Just that pump and dump, low care. They embody the Walmart of weed mentality. And they could come. They at one time did engage for a call with us. I wouldn't touch them with a 10-foot pole, no matter how much business, because at the end of the day, it's about having companies that bring value to the industry and knowing that it's passion. It's all about passion. So it is nice that you're sticking around for that reason. But it is nice too to know that there are groups out there that do still bring that passion too. Hopefully there's one that looks into the New Mexico market and can engage with you when that time comes. But in the interim, I'm excited to see that you're still growing and expanding and bringing value across each of the different areas of New Mexico, because it is what's needed, despite the hardships.
Well, I'll tell you, I think it made a big difference that I was our grower for the first 5 years. You know,
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
I was digging in the dirt. I was doing everything. I was doing our grow was 250 miles from Santa
Wow.
Fe, and I didn't have anyone else to do it. So I would go spend 4 16-hour days down there in Hightown, New Mexico, where it was on a family ranch I had.
Okay.
And then just 2 shipping containers, one I had buried in the ground because I didn't trust the state. So anyway, I had a trap door and all that stupid stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
That speaks to my conspiracy nature just lit up in happiness right there. That's awesome.
But I was our grower. I blew up my oven a couple of times doing extracts at my house, like learning about all this stuff, making edibles, doing it. I was doing everything because we weren't allowed to buy third party in the beginning, and anything that we weren't making was not going to be available in our store. So I know every aspect of it. I'm not the smartest person in the room on any area. I've got our director of cultivation, Evan, came from Oklahoma and Colorado, and he's amazing. And he's way smarter than I am than growing, which is what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Our extractor, Logan, he came from Green Solution up in Colorado. He knows what he's doing. He's very passionate. Those guys can talk growing and extract. They can talk circles around me, and I don't want to be, and I'm never going to be the smartest guy in the room with everything. So that's where you want to do, is get people that are smarter than you. So that's what
Surround yourself with good company.
Yeah.
That's so true. Piggybacking off of that, I just had a question. I'm relatively new to the entire industry, probably been in it for a year now, but we visited dispensary in Michigan, and the bud tender was just so knowledgeable. And I'm wondering, you guys, there's like I think it's over 4,000 employees that work in the cannabis industry just alone in New Mexico. I wonder, you guys have any like continuing education for bud tenders for like everything that changes? Obviously, you know a lot about it. You just said you grew your own for 5 years. They're just so knowledgeable. Is there like classes, or do you guys, I don't know, have continuing education for bud tenders to know about your own products and such like that?
Sure. There was a THC university out of Colorado that we were using, doing some online stuff.
Okay.
And I found that their stuff was just dead wrong sometimes.
Wow.
Like I went through to get the certificates for bud tender 1 and bud tender 2 and cultivator and all this stuff. And I kept answering the questions with the right answers and I would get it wrong. So it's kind of stoner meets educator in that instance. They hadn't done their homework yet. And then there's one in Oakland, Oaksterdam University, if they're still open. I'm not sure if they are, but they seem to have a pretty good curriculum that I like. But what we do short of that now is we have I get my grower on the phone with our dispensary bud tenders and dispensary managers. We get everybody together every now and then. We're doing training videos for the bud tenders. How do you make sure that you're getting the right product in the hands of the customer, for example? And you don't get that when someone comes into a dispensary and the bud tender says, I need your ID. That's all I need. Come back. Do you know what you want? That's not useful. I'll walk out if anyone ever does that. Or like up in Colorado, I'll go into dispensaries and, some 22-year-old little idiot hippie will tell me, he'll say, this shit is the chronic. And I'm like, what does that mean? That means nothing to me.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
I don't want a heart attack. I just want to enjoy myself.
I mean, shit, I don't want to smoke shit. And if it's chronic doesn't sound good, except in this industry, So
exactly. Yeah.
Is it going to elevate my mood? Is it going to help with pain? What are we? And there's very specific terpene profiles too.
Yes.
It's less about the cannabinoids even. It's more about the interplay of the cannabinoids and the terpenes. So
that's the big thing.
You also have the problem of, there's probably 2,000 different blue dreams out there, for example. Like, okay, what is, you say you're growing blue dream and that's what you have in this bag, and it smells a little like Blue Dream, but there's so many variations of it, and they're all called Blue Dream.
Yep. We were talking to Eric Mercado, who's owns Terply, which is a technology company for cannabis, and he was saying the same thing. There's a lot of white labeling in cannabis that you have the same name, and you expect the same similar feeling just because the name is the same, but they're all different types, and it's getting harder and harder to determine which one. So they try to work to show you exactly, which product it's going to be the same to try to reduce the white labeling amount.
Yeah, that's especially based on the terpene profiles. And I know that goes right back to what we said, like the education that you do over at Sacred Garden and what is necessary for the industry is so important because, to your point, again, it is a medicine. Whether you enjoy it recreationally or not, it's a medicine. And you take a pill, you expect to feel A equals B result, right? You expect to smoke or do a dab or whatever your consumption model is, you expect to have a result. And everyone's cannabinoid systems internally are different, right? So when we try a product and it actually gives us the end result that we really are looking for, whether it's to help us sleep at night, feel relaxed, be able to be a little bit more energized, maybe it's to help us reduce our anxiety, anything, you want to know that you can find the same or similar products to give you the same end state, the same mood state. And I think that's where, if you learn not just by name, right? Because there's so many variations of said name, but by the actual terpene profiles, and that led you to that feeling, then you can find same or similar products based on that and that chemical structure to give you a great experience with cannabis, which is, I think, is so important because so many people in markets now. New Mexico is less taboo, less stereotypical, but as you go into like the Bible Belt, which we deal with like our Mississippi clients that are opening. So yeah, so I'll jump right back into it. Just simply, given that, with the terpene profiles and stuff, it is so important, and would love to hear how you're pushing that education over at Sacred Garden to help people be able to find the products that are best suited for the end state that they're looking for.
Sure. So, yeah, we will, we've got to find out what the delivery method is that best works for them. A doctor sends a 80-year-old grandma into the store and she's just like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed, like, I don't know what's going on, and we try and find out, hey, maybe edibles, we know you're used to capsules. We make capsules. We do different milligram strength capsules. So getting someone with a comfortable delivery method. And, unfortunately, the baby boomers have grown up on pharmaceuticals. So, something like a capsule is way more comfortable and they're more likely to take it than smoking a bowl or even a cartridge or a pen. And then you have the soccer moms, they love the pens.
Love the soccer moms into their pens.
Subtle, gummies, chocolates, pens, that stuff's great. They don't necessarily want the edibles around because their kids are around.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Makes sense.
And then you'll get a head come in the store and they know everything about weed in the world.
Oh, yeah.
Then then you got to listen to them tell you why they know more than you do for the next 30 minutes, and that's fine. It's part of it. But yeah. So first of all, what's the delivery method? Or how are they ingesting it? What are they more comfortable with? And then, do they have specific issues, conditions that they're trying to address that they want to talk about? And we'll have someone say, oh, super lemon haze really worked for me for X. I remember MS, some lady said our lemon sour diesel was so good for her MS, but then we didn't have it for a minute. And so I had to do research to see what strain we had genetic that might be helpful for her. Another lady, Lyme's disease. She had a very specific genetic that helped her with her Lyme's disease. So, it's paying attention. It's, I tell all of our bud tenders, I said, if you don't have an answer right there, then and there, and other people in the store don't, you get their number and you tell them, I'm going to do some research tonight and I'll call you back, because awesome. I do
that's
want
customer service. That's customer service. That's phenomenal. That's huge.
And that's where we can win without lowering prices. And, until we're having a giveaway product, we can win on customer service. We can win on quality. We can win on variety, having everything in the store that someone might want. So that's our goal. But I'll tell you what, we are racing to the bottom right now. So, what I used to buy pounds of flour wholesale for $2,200 to $2,800 in the state per pound. And now I'll be lucky if I could sell it for $800, something that's amazing. So in just 1 year, it's gone down that much.
That is amazing. Cause I remember, just speaking of the legacy market, even here in New York, you would buy an O and it would be anywhere from like $240 to $300. And we talk about Michigan with the race to the bottom too. I got an O for $60. My jaw dropped. I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah,
it doesn't even sound correct.
You should have seen it, Zeke. This kid, he was his first time in a dispensary. He was like a kid in a candy store. We spent $420 with one of my clients in Michigan, and it was awesome. It was awesome.
I know. It's the price is getting so low everywhere. California, Colorado, Washington, Oregon, Oklahoma. That I almost want to buy pounds just for a pillow to put on my bed.
Might as well. Might as well. Might be able to get the same price for a good pillow.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's nuts. But yeah, being able to pivot, being able to provide good customer service, always have the products on shelf that people want. Those are the important things. And then we have to do all the other crap, which I hate, which is the marketing of stuff, the social media. I didn't even have a Facebook forever. And then my mom made me get on Facebook so she could send me pictures. But I hate all that stuff because I think it's all fluff. None of it is substance. None of it speaks to the substance of the products we're trying to provide. But that's what millennials, that's what, even you're seeing blue-haired grandmas on their iPhones, Facebooking people now, even though they don't even know how to use their phone. So
I
It's so
get it.
true.
It's hilarious, and that's what I at least enjoy with range, right, is it's a little bit different. Is it's not necessarily marketing, it's digital marketing in a sense, but because I mean, Zeke, like I did not come from marketing. God, I was a police officer, for God's sake. So
wow.
for me, it's the complete antithesis. And just knowing that like our job isn't to like make you look flashy or fluffy. Our job is simply to try to like fight against the 800-pound gorilla, which is Google, and simply make sure that our clients show up for all the things that is relevant to what they do and where they do it. So to ensure that our clients actually are found by the people who have the intent to buy and when they have the intent to buy. That's what I love about it. It's not about creating flashy, fluffy ads and social media posts. It's simply just getting more traffic and more at bats for our clients to help them succeed. It's the clients who drive it home with the experience they give to the patient. It's our job just to give the at bats. So I feel you there on the marketing side, but it is necessary. It's necessary evil in any kind of retail.
Evil. It absolutely is.
I've never wanted to be a cookies. I think that's all fluff and very little substance. They did a great job on marketing, creating, had a couple of strains, and that's about it. Like they're not master breeders. They're not the smartest guys in the room, but they did a great job with marketing. So everyone knows cookies.
They do.
They did a good job with influencers and things like that. I used to watch a lot of Wiz Khalifa, so I've heard cookies for years, and pretty much the only reason why I would have known cookies is because of them hanging around Wiz Khalifa. But yeah, it's one of the most popular brands. Speaking on marketing, I was wondering if you guys have speaking of marketing and community engagement, any events happening or anything you guys have planned?
Right on. Yeah, well, one thing we're doing that's exciting this year is we're sponsoring a lot of music in Santa Fe.
Nice.
Santa Fe Brewing is one of our partners, and we work collaboratively with them in a lot of ways. And they have a lot of music. We just went to a Stephen Marley concert on Saturday.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And we had our Sacred Garden booth out, and we've got our Sacred Garden banners. And one thing, I mean, the whole reason I wanted to sponsor was I wanted to get up in my marijuana suit and throw out joints everywhere.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
now
I'd pay to see that.
The state won't even let me give away product to people that are 21 and older. I'm like, what is going on?
That's crazy.
But I can get away with it if I sell it to them for a penny, a pre-roll. I'm like, come on, this is outrageous. If I want to give away product, why can't I give away product?
Yeah, there's no workaround if they paid to get into the event. Like,
I don't, that's the thing with all the rules too. It's like,
what are the loopholes?
What are the loopholes? Instead of working collaboratively with the, different, what are they called? Shareholders for
the regulatory bodies
industry in New Mexico. They don't. They look at us as the enemy, and they're fighting against us, and we're trying to trick them into I don't know what, but we could solve so many problems for them too, and reduce a lot of heartache for them by working collaboratively. Like, no, we shouldn't do it this way because of this. Even with the testing requirements, at one point the mold number was we had to be less than 1,000 CFU. And whereas Oregon standard, which was approved by the Harvard Medical Group, was 100,000. So why are we 100 times more stringent on this one thing when Harvard Medical Group says that's not the threshold we should be looking at? So that means a lot of product just gets thrown away, and that's kind of stupid too.
It is stupid. Yeah. And I remember about a year ago, I had a few clients that were being told different things in New Mexico from the regulatory body as far as labeling, like the label exposure. Basically, I had one client who was being told you have to have PDFs of the entire label for every product you sell available to be downloaded online. And then I had another client in the same market who was like, I just talked to the guy at the Department of Health, who's my go-to person, and that's not true. So when you have literally differentiating regulations based on the person at the, it's a tough battle you're fighting. I don't envy you there. That's tough.
There's not a single inspector with the state that knows all the rules and regulations. Like
Wow.
we've had to correct them when they've come into the warehouse before and said, no, that's not the rule. That's not the regulation. Let's read it together. And they're like, oh, I never
Pull
even
out the
seen
book.
that part. Yeah. So, and you know, it's they're not paying a competitive wage compared to private industry. So what do you expect is going to happen? You're going to get a lot of turnover. You're not going to get the sharpest knives in the drawer, unfortunately. So
No, that's true. I think the last question I have, and then Des, I don't know if you have any more, is, I know we talked a lot about the working together and the challenges with a lot of the regulations and the regulatory boards. How is it in your market with brands? And obviously your market is vertically integrated, which means, to any of those out there who don't know, Zeke and his company can be a retail operation as well as a grow operation, which is why he is the honor of being able to say, which I truly believe is an honor, he is seed to sale. And kind of controls everything in between that process. In a lot of markets, we see, especially ones that are dealing with this race to the bottom, brands have the money, right? Brands have the money, and they want to pay. They're willing to help if they have the right foresight. They know that they're useless without the vendors that are selling their product. So they're trying to subsidize and help offset some of the costs, marketing dollars that dispensaries have to take on to push their products, whether it's advertising within their website or programmatic advertising, what have you. How is the relationship? Because we've seen markets where dispensaries and brands are almost seeing each other as competition. And then vice versa, where now a lot of markets, brands are really coming together with dispensaries to be the Apple to the Best Buy, right? That close relationship to help each other succeed.
you know, we are a little bit at odds with Bloom, for example. We carry Bloom cartridges. Well, Bloom just changed its business model, dropped its price a bunch. So I've got a bunch of stuff I can't sell on shelf unless I put huge discount on it. So, and they popped that on us, from one day to the next, it changed. They didn't even so I've got 1,200 units of Bloom that I'm going to have to half price, and I'm going to have to eat a bunch of product.
That's tough.
Yeah, that's not okay. It's constantly a battle of, I really believe our products that we make in-house are better too. And I have better margins on it. So I want to, line price my stuff with some of the big brands, and people are still coming in and asking for the big brands because they've heard it somewhere around the country. But it's, and I kind of want to not make a bunch of products too, because every different area is a whole team of people, and the headache of, another rent and all the material and more packaging that I might have to throw away because the state decides to change packaging rules. So it's a big headache. And you also have the legal risk too. Like if I get someone sick from an edible, then, I've got a legal battle ahead of myself. But I do believe from my food manufacturing background that I've got a leg up on a lot of people too. So absolutely. I'm okay doing all this stuff, even if some of it is not high margin areas. Like tinctures, topicals, we do a great job with tinctures, topicals, but it's just not something, most people want to get high, Most people don't really care about, their skin condition or their nerve pain, except, the handful of medical patients. So
like my mother, whereas
Yeah.
that's all she'll do. And it's a battle trying to find the right product that'll give her the relief when she can,
Yeah.
with her specific illness in particular. I mean, she can take Oxy and you would think that she popped a single Tylenol.
Yeah. Wow.
It does nothing because of the fact that just the metal poisoning and the way that her nervous system and autoimmune disease kind of all intertwine, and those receptors are all blocked. So trying to find the right cannabinoid, she does not want to smoke or get high. She wants something to help her just kind of mitigate the pain a little bit. So I get it. It's about finding the right stuff for the right people and being able to still be profitable when you got to have the right balance on your shelves.
Yeah. And we all saw what happened to the CBD market. It became a hot button item. There were 10,000 searches. Now there may be 1,000 searches for CBD. A lot of people got burned because there was terrible CBD products out there, some of which didn't even have any usable CBD because of the degradation. Well, there's a lot of black market cannabis. There's a lot of black market cannabis products still pouring into this state because the state doesn't have enough inspectors to really stay on top of it. So that means you've got a lot of product getting into the system and being sold that it wouldn't pass pesticide testing. Maybe it's moldy. So it's hard. Like, I feel like we're having to follow rules that a bunch of other people aren't right now. And they will come after me because I'm a legacy producer.
Whereas the spotlight.
Yeah. So, and like I said, they just plain don't like me. I accused the governor of corruption and
there you go.
Publicly, and it didn't go very well. So,
man after my own heart. I love that. That's my kind of guy. I've fought those battles, trust me, and we'll talk about it in a different conversation.
Right on. Yeah, no, it's a crazy wild west world still here, and we're gonna go the way Oklahoma went, where there's way too many producers out there, and people are then trying to figure out ways to move the product black market. So we've got some growing up to do in New Mexico as an industry, but that's normal.
Well, they're clearly better off having an advocate like you, kind of being the spearhead for it all. That is for sure, and I can say that confidently. And we're proud to work with you because honestly, it's better to work with an organization like yours that's led with integrity and fights for the cause than like some of the others that we've spoken about on this podcast that just are the epitome of the Walmarts of weed. And
yes, sir.
So it is a pleasure to work with you.
Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate you guys for having me on, and keep spreading the word, spreading the love of cannabis, the old school love that we all have. So.
Absolutely. Thank you too. I've learned a lot about the New Mexico market on this as well. Just I love it because Mark's been in it for years, but for me, it's every time is a learning experience. And it's crazy how, since it's not federally legal and there isn't just like standards across the board, how different each state really is. And it's just fun learning about it.
Well, yeah, nice to meet you too. Hopefully we'll get to hang out sometime in person.
Yeah. I'll have to visit New Mexico. I have family from El Paso, so I've been to El Paso, but never been to New Mexico.
Well, we have one of our dispensaries is about 500 feet from El Paso. So
all right.
We're heading on down then. Next trip. We'll make it happen.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you too.
All right. Y'all have a good one.
You as well. Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.